Your latest item is entitled Holocaust Denial is Atrocious, but it isn't a crime. And I would tweak that and say it shouldn't be a crime because, of course, it has been treated like a crime in Germany. And you can understand there's some historical reasons for that. But now comes a statement in our Liberal government's budget saying that they will make Holocaust denial a crime. And funny enough, they cite a private member's bill originally drafted by a Conservative MP. Tell me a little bit about this censorship provision sort of tucked away in a weird place in a budget, which is normally about dollars and cents. Tell me a little bit about this Liberal plan.
Yeah, and I think you're right to point out the budget aspect of it. One of the things that I raised alarm about when the Liberals and NDP announced they were getting into bed on budgetary matters is that if the NDP is agreeing to support any Liberal budget, what this actually means is that anything that the Liberals want to get done, they can just slip into a spending bill and the NDP will have to go along with it. And I said that not realizing how right I would be. I don't believe government should be in the censoring business at all, but certainly not if you're doing so to do it in a way where you aren't actually going to have the scrutiny and debate as if they were to just come right out and do what they're doing here, which is a bill that will make it a criminal offense to deny the Holocaust, except for in private conversation. They'll let people privately deny the Holocaust, but not in any public way.
Now, of course, I do not deny the Holocaust. I believe that the Holocaust is a fact. In fact, I've led several tours to Israel, and one of the key stops we make every time is to Yad Vashem, which is the Holocaust Memorial and Holocaust Museum. I've been to the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C. several times. It's quite impressive, too. I've studied a lot about the Holocaust and about the Second World War in general. I think there is no doubt that it's true. In fact, I'm much more certain that the Holocaust happened than I am, say, of the moon landing, which I also, of course, believe happened. And I think that if someone denies the Holocaust, they're factually wrong. I think if they're denying the Holocaust, there's a good chance they're doing so to undermine Jews and Jewish claims of persecution, perhaps to justify future claims of persecution. As Ron Rosenbaum said, a second Holocaust is more likely than a first one, because the first one was so unthinkable. Now it's thinkable, and now the technology is so much more advanced. So I think that if anyone is a Holocaust denier, there's a good chance there's a malign purpose to it. But I also know this, Andrew. If you don't know the story of the Holocaust like I do, and like I presume you do, I mean, I was taught it as a child in Jewish school by Holocaust survivors. So I know it in my bones. But if you've never heard of it before, if you're, let's say, a newcomer to Canada from, I don't know, I'm just going to say from Africa or from Southeast Asia, a place that was very far removed historically and ethnically from the European Holocaust, if it's not part of your culture, if it had nothing to do, if you're from Burma, if you're from Ghana, really the Holocaust had nothing to do with your country, your people. You may have gone to school without hearing about it. You come to Canada and you don't know anything about it, and it's this dramatic thing. I think it's okay to ask questions about it, even skeptical questions, because you're learning about something, and you should be allowed to be skeptical, and not everyone knows it in their bones. I think to in advance say this is something you may not question, that is anti-intellectual. I think it's unfair to people who actually have some questions about it, and frankly, it's something Hitler would do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even take the view that there is a practical reason that, Holocaust denial or an innocent reason behind Holocaust denial. I take the view that in no way is censorship ever the answer to a problem. It is the creation of a problem. And in this case, you have governments citing anti-Semitism, which we know is pervasive. Anti-Semitism is always at the very top of hatred, of hate crimes that do come out. If you allow censorship to be a response to that, all you're doing is endorsing unfreedom. You're endorsing this idea that government is the one that gets to decide what people should be allowed to say. And the concern that I raise with this practically, in that, all of us could say, yes, anti-Semitism is a bad thing, but to link from that to banning it only endorses government to then ban other things that they assert are bad things. So conservatives were up in arms, rightfully so, about the anti-Islamophobia motion M103 back in 2017, I think it was. And that didn't actually have a direct criminal sanction on speech like this ban on Holocaust denial does. But you know that this would be used to justify a criminal ban on Islamophobia down the road.
That's an excerpt from my daily show, The Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.